Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. We have in the co-captains chairs today, we got Mr. Jamie Laszlo, Mr. Martin Popoff, and Guitar Hack. Today, we are tackling by popular demand and a long time coming, as we were just talking. It's been about a year since we first started talking about doing this particular ranking. The Cult, all right, very cool band from the UK who have captured our attention for quite a number of years. What was their first album, 1984? So we're talking about a long time. Got pretty big here in the States for a while. That popularity has since kind of waned, but 10 albums, some really good albums, I think, and we're going to rank all 10 of them. So what we're going to do things a little bit differently today since there are four of us. So each go around, everybody's going to pick three. So we're going to go 10, 9, and 8 the first go around, then 7, 6, 5, so on and so forth. And then the final one will divulge our number one. So with all that being said, we're going to go Jamie, Martin, Hack, and myself, and go round and round and round we go. So Jamie, what do you got for 10, 9, and 8 for the Cult?
All right. First of all, I do not dislike any of these albums. I am a big Cult fan. Some I like a lot less. Some are good. Many are beyond great. So I'm going to start off with a good one, 2016, Hidden City. It's okay. It's Martin and I did a show on the Cult late last year, I think, maybe November. And when I was preparing for the show, I kind of forgot this album existed because I thought another one, I thought Choice of Weapon was their last album. I was like, oh, I totally forgot about this one. And it has its moments. I see the creativity in it, but the band is older and the energy isn't there for me. They sound a bit tired at times, which, I mean, I saw them live in 2019 and they didn't seem tired at all live. So I don't know, maybe it was the 4 beers I had in me, maybe it was the crowd, but on this album it seems like things get going and then the songs lose their steam, like the band got tired halfway through the song. And then for number 9, I'm going for Choice of Weapon, which is also a pretty good album. When it came out, I listened to it a lot because I didn't like it at first, but damn it, it was new Cult and I wanted to like it. And this son of a bitch was going to grow on me if I wanted it to or not. And it did grow on me. Honey from a Knife is a great song. The Wolf rocks. Lucifer, all good songs. Far from their best. But you know what? In 2012, it was good to have a new Cult album to, I was doing morning walks back then. My morning walk CD. And then for number 8, Dreamtime, their first album under the name The Cult. It's good. It's when I did the prep for me and Martin, our show in November, I don't like the title track. And I find it annoying. And it's the first song that always came to mind when I thought of the album. I was like, oh, Dreamtime. I don't want to listen to that. And I passed. But you know what? The rest of the album is really good. These early albums suffer a little bit from that early to mid 80s production that a lot of goth bands had, where it sounds like the band is playing, 3 rooms down the hall away from you a little bit. There's a little bit of an echo, just a far awayness to the band. But other than that, good album. How's that for flying through 3 albums real quick? We'll be in bed, boys, tonight by 10.
Nice. There you go. All right, Martin, what do you got for your first 3?
Wow. So I'm going to diverge a lot from Jamie, although we do come together on when we did that Contrarians episode. We both agreed that the album we talked about there was a very, very good Cult album. You picked it as your favorite. I'm not going to give it away, but we're probably off on a lot of stuff here. So I'm going to start with Ceremony, difficult album for them. It's kind of the follow up to Sonic Temple in a way. I think it's with that album cover, the narrative on this was always that it was quite, part of the Native American roots thing and all this on it, but it's actually kind of like it's a fairly hair metal-y kind of album, and it's even got a lot of acoustic kind of power ballady stuff that feels like Guns N' Roses ballads sort of thing. So this one always rubbed me kind of the wrong way, and it wasn't that well received out there in the world. My number 9, I'm going with Sonic Temple. That's probably a very contrarian choice, but I always had it in for that album right from the day it came out. I loved Electric. I loved Love, the whole concept of the band coming up, a little bit of that thing I call messianic, when it was with the Love album. I mean, these guys were really, they seemed like really cool rock stars, the same way we all talked about Tea Party the other day, right? Same kind of thing, right? Ian's an amazing, cool guy. But I just felt like they lost all their cool there. It was a very commercial album. All that stuff where you thought they had this crazy, heavy artistic integrity seemed gone. The whole Bob Rock thing, it just felt like a whole Bon Jovi world to me. I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit because they went so mainstream in terms of the fan base too. So always had it in for that record. Never liked the production. It leans a little bit into that Aerosmith, Bon Jovi, car sick production thing that I call. Number 8, I'm surprised this went quite a ways down my list, but I did a whole survey checking this out. This was the first one I ever interviewed the guys on. Love that album cover. It's heavy, but it's really odd. Like, it is actually quite a lot different than a lot of the other ones, because it's got a lot of that thing that I don't like when bands do kind of like a down-tuned circular bluesy riff sort of thing. Not exactly bluesy, but almost like doomy crossed with bluesy. It's almost like too heavy, and the production is too thick on it, and it just kind of gets me down. So it just weighs me down, and that's not what I get out of the ones farther up my list. So that's Ceremony, Sonic Temple, Beyond Good and Evil.
Yeah, our rankings are all going to be completely different here.
He just did my top 3.
Yeah.
I'm watching.
Wow. Okay.
You're gonna be all over the map. That's for
Oh
sure.
yeah. All right, Hack. What do you got?
All right. Well, my number 10 is the first one, Dreamtime, 1984. Man, when I'm listening to this, I'm listening to Ian singing. He sounds like a kid. He hasn't developed that sort of dark, gravelly, deeper voice that he has on later records. And yeah, sounds like a kid. I mean, there's nothing on this record to me that's very memorable. I mean, I never listen to this record. It's like, I don't need to keep going back to it. It's a very much a record of the time, 1984. It's got that post-punk kind of goth vibe to it. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of like the Susie and the Banshees kind of school. With the sparse guitars and the kind of like the jungly drums, that's kind of was in vogue back then. But yeah, that's an album that really doesn't do a hell of a lot for me. My number 9 is Hidden City, 2016. Of their 3 most recent records, I kind of agree with what Jamie was saying. Yeah, it's a hard rock record, but there's not a lot of memorable moments on this record. Of the most recent 3, I think it's the weakest. It's just, I don't know, it doesn't really grab. There's not a lot there to really, pull you in. And my number 8, Choice of Weapon, 2012. It's stronger than Hidden City. The highlight for me is The Wolf. I think The Wolf is a fantastic song. Great Billy riff on that. Billy, I mean, I'm going to talk a lot about Billy as we go through this, but Billy's one of my favorite guitar players. Doesn't get a lot of recognition because he's not a flashy guy, but that guy, his lines and his riffs and all that, just they always make the songs great. He's just a real super musical guy. A hard rock record has the mellow moments here and there, but the other newer batch of records, a lot I go back to more than this. Like these 3 records for me, there's like a separation. It's like 8, 9, and 10, and then everything from there up is like really good. Like they could all shift, well, except for maybe the top 2 or 3, but the middle ones can shift. But these are the 3 for me. These are the 3 weakest records of the Cult. So there you go. There's my 10, 9, and 8.
Nice.
All right, my number 10 is also Dreamtime, the debut from '84. Not a bad album. Not really kind of the Cult that I want to listen to, though. To me, it sounds very much like very early U2. which is not necessarily a bad thing, but there's U2, let them be U2. And I kind of like the more hard rock and cult that came a couple of years later. But there are some good songs on here. I think Horse Nation, great rock song. I like 83rd Dream a lot. Butterflies is kind of cool and moody. Go West, pretty good. I just think, to me, they're still kind of finding their way here, and it's one that I don't listen to that often. Number 9, also I'm going to agree with Hack on this, Hidden City, 2016. Yeah, it's a solid hard rock record. Not one of their best, though. I think that Ian's vocals have taken on like a little bit of a deeper, huskier tone by this time. But the band still sounds pretty energetic. I like Dark Energy, No Love Lost. Both start off the album in a really good way. Dance of the Night to me sounds like classic Cult, which I really dig a lot. But a couple mellow songs on here which aren't as memorable. It's a good album. It's not perfect, but some good material on here. And then number 8, I'm going to go with 2007's Born Into This, which is their 8th album. Horrible album cover and packaging, man. It's like yeah, this was on Roadrunner too, but I'm surprised. But anyway, title track kicks ass. Really good song. Love the bass on Diamonds, another good rocker. Dirty Little Rockstar is a great song. I Assassin's a really good song. Illuminated's a really good song. Savage is a really good song, or Savages. Holy Mountain, I don't like at all. I don't like the crooning vocals on there, but otherwise pretty rocking, pretty solid album. I agree with Hack. I think everything, my first 2 are, everything else after that I enjoy quite a bit. So Dreamtime, Hidden City, and Born Into This, number 8. Back to Jamie.
All right, this might be contrarian because this is a lot of people's favorite cult album, and I'm putting it at what, number 7? Love, CD and vinyl. I think it suffers from the same production of Dreamtime, where that post-punk goth production that you got at the time. It's definitely an album of its day, so it's not necessarily a timeless record, except for She Sells Sanctuary. Yeah. That is a timeless song. It almost sounds like it doesn't belong on this album. It's like they went into the future and grabbed the song off a later album and then put it on this album. It just jumps off the album. It's like if you read Shakespeare and it's like, thou shalt, thou, and Romeo said, fuck off. Whoa, where did that come from? That's how I feel when this song comes on. Where did that come from? It just doesn't fit. But I love it. And the song, it's Nirvana is a good song. Rain is a great song. I would just like to hear this with that car sick production that Martin hates that Bob Rock did. I wonder what it would sound like. So that is number 7. 6. I didn't write down numbers, so I hope I'm doing the numbers right. Born Into This. There's the CD, the digipack, and there is I think it's pink vinyl that came out like a couple years ago. It's when it first came out, I was a little disappointed, but over the years it has grown on me. And I thought it was really cool that they got played on the radio for a half a second with what is it, Dirty Little Rockstar. And like I told Martin on our show, Dirty Little Rockstar sounds like a dirty song. It sounds like a stripper song, but for the day shift strippers. Maybe the stripper has a little pouch and she's 38 and the kids are in the break room and the sun's coming through, peeping through the blinds a little bit. And you got this song on and she's doing her best. That's that song, Dirty Little Rockstar. But yeah, and you said I Assassin. Great song. Yeah. I forget the riff, but I love how it's got that start riff going on. And I saw them on this tour. First time I ever saw them was on this tour. It took me long enough, huh? So, yeah, I like it. There you go.
One more.
Oh, one more.
Yeah.
Beyond Good and Evil. Love this record. We're into the records now that I only a hair separate them. I would say, I don't know if you call this a comeback record. It's kind of a comeback record. I would say if it is, it's the best comeback. It's my favorite comeback
There
record
you go.
of all time. Okay. A lot of people said it suffers from the loudness war. Okay, maybe, but it doesn't bother me. I think The Saint is a great song. I think Rise, another song I was surprised got played on the radio, is just pure cult magic. Ashes and Ghosts, it's all memorable. True Believers, it's like a power ballad type thing, I believe. Yeah, I mean, when it's over, I'm sad, and I can't believe a 2000, is this 2001? I can't believe it's an album from 2001 by the Cult is this damn good. So there you go.
Cool. All right, Martin.
Okay, my number 7, I went with Dreamtime. I just love that they have an album like this. I love Susie and the Banshees, and I love early U2 and Adam and the Ants and Teardrop Explodes and Bauhaus and Mission and all that stuff. I like the fact that even the production is made that way to be that kind of thin, screechy British aesthetic. It's a weird aesthetic. I don't know why they did it, but it's kind of cool that it's applied to an album like this. Love Horse Nation, 83rd Dream. But yeah, I just like the fact, I find it really intriguing that they started as a pure post-punk band in this gothic realm, and the vocals fit and everything, and the look of the band fit. So that's my number 7, 1984. My number 6 is Love. So I went with this next, and true, the production's not very good on it. She Sells Sanctuary and Rain, or I think the standouts. This is kind of what the guys looked like at that time, right? There's your 2-panel thing that came with it. This was a huge hit album when I was in university. When She Sells Sanctuary came on, that was like a big dance tune, right? But yeah, I think it's really cool that it was this. They were like better than the Mission and Sisters of Mercy, actually, in this idea of kind of rocking out. That's why they became famous. Essentially, they were like the heaviest, guitariest version of a goth band. So it's like they were bringing two things to the table, and the world kind of like looked up and said, "Oh, this is kind of cool stuff." So that's my number 6. My number 5. I've got my my 12-inch of this here, Little Devil from Love, and they made a lot of these, and so this was like a big sort of big commercial time for them with the 12-inch singles and all that kind of stuff. It's weird that Electric is down here for me because it just kept getting bumped by the new stuff, which I'm just so into way more. Electric was I've said this before, but to me it's the Sabbath Bloody Sabbath front cover of albums. It's like, how did they get away with this? Because it just seemed like so weirdly commercial. It's like all of us were looking around at each other going, they're not allowed to do this. They're not allowed to make an AC/DC album and record with Rick Rubin and have it be so absolutely like economical and vacant and simple. We loved it to death. I mean, I was a huge fan of it at the time, but it's like, how come we're the only ones who are like objecting to this? They're not supposed to be able to do this. This was a band with rainy, sad English integrity, and now they just sound like the best Sunset Strip band. It was amazing when they did this. But everybody, no one besides us evidently had any complaints about it, and everybody just loved it. So yeah, I do love the album, but it just kept getting bumped down the list because I'm just so impressed by how kind of artistic they are now. So 7 Dreamtime, 6 Love, 5 Electric.
Cool. All right. So my number 7 is The Cult, 1994. This was them reinventing themselves. Okay. Trying to get away from being lumped in with the other rock bands of the day, because previous to this, they were, one of those bands. And they basically repackaged themselves. And this album does not sound like anything that they had done previous to that. This is their alternative album. This is their STP vibe. And one thing about The Cult, and Billy and Ian are such great songwriters that they actually do it quite well. I mean, there's some really good material on here. the tone, the sounds on the record are great. There's some Hendrixy guitar stuff on there that I really dig. It was, if you listen to that, it's basically a very contemporary album for 94. Like that could sit right along your, your collection of Stone Temple Pilots or Weezer or whatever bands of the day. And yeah, I mean, they reinvented themselves and they did a hell of a good job doing it. For my number 6, it's Born Into This, which is 2007. Just a great record, lots of hooks, lots of really catchy songs. Pete, you mentioned Holy Mountain. I love Holy Mountain. Yeah, the problem with the Cult was there's always these big, and here's, the show we were talking previously, the big gaps with no albums being released. And that's sort of the same thing with the Cult. They had these big gaps, right, from one album release to the other, and I think they kind of lost momentum because of that. They weren't always constantly putting out product, because I know that, I mean, the Cult is Billy and Ian, and sometimes they get along and sometimes they don't, and then they start doing other projects, and it kind of, dilutes the Cult. But when they come together as the Cult, it's always the best of those guys, I think. Anyways, of the 3 most recent records, Born Into This, I think is the best of the most recent 3 albums that they put out. And I hear they're putting out another record or working on another record, but they're touring now, so I don't know what's going on with them. Anyways, Electric is my number 5. 1987, radical departure from what they were doing previously. This is a very dry, lots of space, right? This is their, people say AC/DC, right? It's just a very dry production, very scaled down, bare bones. Rick Rubin, of course, was the producer. I think there was 4 singles that came off of this record. The record was very, very successful. It's very classic rock sounding. Ian sounds phenomenal on this record. I hear a lot of kind of early Zeppelin-y type of riffing going on. I love every track on it. The only one that kind of bugs me a little bit is Peace Dog, and some of the lyrics are kind of silly on it, but man, they sound great. They sound like a tight, straight ahead rock band, no frills, just Gibsons into Marshalls, right? And yeah, but so what do we do? So my 7 was the Cult, my 6 was Born Into This, and my 5 was Electric.
Cool. All right, my number 7 is Love, 1985, second album. Again, that gothic kind of post-punk sound is pretty prevalent on here, but I still think this album rocks though in spots. I think that you're starting to see the transition of the band. Nirvana, great song, ultra memorable. Love the title track. I think Billy Duffy's guitar work on this album is really good. There's a lot of different type of stuff from him on this particular album. Brother Wolf, Sister Moon, great dark menacing song. Rain is awesome, great hard rock song. Phoenix again has all those kind of cool guitar textures that we get from him over this whole album. But I also think Ian sounds really good on this album. Which is great. And of course, She Sells Sanctuary, awesome song. Yeah, some of the other tracks don't really do a lot for me on this album, but it's a solid record. I think, most people like it probably more than me, but it's all depending on when you came into the band, right? And I came into them right after this one. So my number 6 is going to be The Cult from 1994, the 6th album. After a 3-year gap, I mean, heck, said it plainly, there's all these gaps in their catalog, especially once you get into the 90s, and I don't think it helped them at all. And this album came out amidst all else that was going on there, grunge and alternative. I think it got kind of lost in the shuffle, but a really strong album. There's some good funky grooves on here. There's some psychedelic stuff on here, like Joy, Star, Real Girl is a lot of fun. Naturally High is great. A lot of catchy material. I agree with you. Very different sounding record for them, but I like it. I think it's pretty strong. I enjoy this one. And then number 5 for me is going to be Ceremony from 1981. Again, yeah, strange album cover. It's kind of a strange album. As Martin mentioned, this was made under a lot of turmoil within the band. Those 2 guys are barely talking to each other, but you know what? Results are pretty good. I love the title track on here, Wild Hearted Son. big melodic hard rocking. I kind of like the Richie Zito production on here, but I'm not nuts of the way the drums sound. Mickey Curry's drums sound kind of very distant and noisy in some spots, so it's kind of like inconsistent, but overall not a bad sounding record. And not a big seller as their previous ones, but I think again it's due to it's 1991, things are changing, and these guys are just trying to figure out how to fit in. But I like it. I think it's a pretty strong album. Back to Jamie.
Cool.
All right. Well, when you brought up ceremony and you said the word ceremony, I instantly started going, ceremony. It just makes me go right into the song in my brain. And that is my next one, number 4. There's a German pressing of the vinyl. Here's my original CD. And there's a long box. Remember these things?
Yes. Indeed.
Yes. So I guess it was harder to steal the CDs, and since the stores already had the vinyl bins, the long, tall things, these fit in there nicely for them.
I used to save
But,
them, and after a while, I had so many. I'm like, what am I doing with all these?
Yeah, I used to hang them on my wall.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah. But love the album. It got a lot of shit when it first came out. You said things were just changing in 1991. Things changed the day that album was released, because the same day that was released, Nirvana's Nevermind was released on the very same day. So one was an older band, one had the new buzz about it, and guess which one won over? I mean, it got played on the radio, a couple songs here and there, but man, it was gone in a whim. But I love the title track. Like I said, Wild Heart Sun was kind of a big hit at the time, and it sounds like Firewoman Part 2. Yeah. And I don't mind that. White on Paper is a song I should not like. It's too long and too repetitive, but man, I love it. I've been listening to it for over 30 years now. Still not sick of it. Heart and Soul. Yeah, when it starts off, it sounds like a Skid Row ballad, but they do it well, man. I like cult ballads a lot, and even when they're cheesy, even if they sound like Bon Jovi, like Martin Popoff says, which I don't think they sound like Bon Jovi. Martin, you give the cult a bad name, Martin. So yeah, that's my number 4. Number 3, going with Electric, the first cult album I ever heard, and I didn't buy it. My buddy had it, and I was like, "Isn't that gothy band?" And he played it for me. I'm like, yeah, I like it, but isn't it that gothy band? So I wasn't on board. I was like, and then I got on board with the next album. So yeah, Electric's got Peace Dog. I like Peace Dog. I got the singles too, Martin. I got Love Removal Machine. I got Little Devil, the one you just showed. Got my original CD. And the one thing I don't like about this, Peace Dog doesn't bother me, but their cover of Born to Be Wild.
Exactly. Yeah.
It cheapens the record. First off, I don't want a cover. Secondly, I don't want a cover that's been covered a bazillion times. Yeah. My goodness, they could have been a B-side on one of these things. Yep. I would be happy. What's the song on here? Wolfchild Blues. I can't remember how the fuck that goes, but put that on the album instead of Born to Be Wild. But I also have this Electric Peace, which is a 2 CD thing. It has the original album, but it also has, now they recorded this album under the name Peace with the same producer that did Love. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, we don't want that. And then they did it. Who produced it? Rick Rubin produced this. They got Rick Rubin and they gave it that more straight ahead rock and roll feel. So if you want to know what it sounds like, if it sounds like Love, buy this. All I can say is I'm happy they went the Rick Rubin route. It's interesting though. Some songs work in that Love production better than others, but as a whole, yeah, the way they released it is the way it should have been released. And do I do one more?
Yep.
This was tough, guys. It's always tough when I come to these two because it's kind of like I mean, the Cult has released two of my favorite albums of all time, top 20 albums, top 15 albums, maybe. Soundgarden's done the same thing with Bad Motorfinger and Super Unknown. And I never know which route to go as my favorite there, too. But I'm going to go with Sonic Temple. Does this make you car sick, Martin? I get that. You get that feeling because I get that from music as well. This doesn't give it to me. Like new bro country gives me that feeling. Kenny Chesney gives me that feeling. But yeah, this is an album that just, how they say this album changed my life. Well, maybe it didn't. Well, it probably changed my life. It changed my view on music. In 1989, 1990, I said this on the last homework assignment thing I was on. I was kind of lost in the wind. We were tired. Me and my buddies were tired. Slaughter. Up all night. It ain't scratching the itch. Testament. Yeah, that's cooler, but it's not quite getting the itch. This is the kind of this. And Danzig and the front album that I gave Rich to listen to, these was exactly what I needed. And then after that, we know what happened with the whole Seattle boom. And then that really scratched the itch. I wasn't itchy for at least 3 years after that. So yeah, Sonic Temple. I love the beginning of Sun King, how it starts, the build up, and then he goes, this is where it all ends. And it, Martin, I don't know how you can't like that. Firewoman, I never get sick of that song. Now that's a nighttime stripper song. That's when the 22-year-olds come out. Then we get the Firewomen. Edie, Child Baby, and Sweet Soul Sister have that mid-pace kind of ballady thing going. But I love it. The one thing that keeps it from being number one, and this is just so nitpicking, is that the front half is all 5-star songs, and a lot of the back half is just 4-star songs. So even though they're great songs at the end, it does seem a little top heavy in a weird way. So there you go.
Sounds like a perfect album side to me, right?
Oh, there you go.
Great album cover too, I will say.
Oh, I had a big poster of that because I worked in a record store, bigger than my door in my apartment. It was wonderful.
Billy's like, I'm a rock star. Look, check me out.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Martin.
Okay.
4, 3, and 2.
4. Yeah, 4, 3, 2. I just wanted to mention, it always bothered me, that title, Love Removal Machine. It reminded me of like Plastic Greenhead by Trouble or Pink Bubbles Go Ape by Halloween. Like,
it is a little odd,
stupid, weird words that don't go together. And I don't think they're really, are they in the song at all? If they are, it's probably just said once and it's whatever. I don't know if they are. But I just, but what a great, great song, basically. Okay, so my number 4, I went with The Cult. This is one of those albums that it's quite difficult and it challenges you to love it. And then once you play it a bunch of times, I mean, it's a weird cliche. It's like, and I always fight against that. It's like, well, if an album makes you have to play it 20 times before you like it, I mean, it must not be very good or whatever, right? This one kind of feels that way because they just seem like they're repelling you in a lot of ways with the big open spaces and the caveman music, and it's not very hooky. Oddly, it's produced by Bob Rock, which is quite bizarre, but obviously he let them go in a very different direction. I love Sacred Life, is way up there as one of my favorite Cult songs of all time, but I love the way it starts with Gone and Coming Down. Like when that thing explodes, it's just, they're proven right there, that whole idea about why grunge is heavier than hair metal. When they do certain things with that soft to heavy shade thing, it really sounds aggressive, whereas I think the aggression was kind of gone on the big albums. Saints Are Down is amazing as well, just the mellow stuff on here, the good dark melancholy. So that's, I think, what a great album cover too, killer album cover.
Evil.
Yeah. And my number 3 is Born Into This. I mean, I love modern cult, but this one to me with 10 songs and being just a little casual and Dirty Little Rockstar High Assassin is amazing, of course. Don't like the album cover. But yeah, so this is one that I've got it way up here high because I'm really esteemed into this. Really love this new direction of the band. 2, I went with Hidden City. I mean, Dark Energy is literally, I mean, it's the first song on it, but I don't like that kind of shuffle feel thing. I never liked that. But No Love Lost has kind of a tribal beat, which is a little different than the shuffle feel, but it's cool when the cult does this stuff. So it's reminding me they're mixing all the best stuff that they did before. So this 2016, this is their last album, but as Jamie says, I guess they got a new one coming. In Blood, mellow, dark one. We've got I love the album cover too, by the way. Goat is amazing. That's one of the newer ones. That's really cool. Deeply Ordered Chaos has a real Zeppelin thing going in it. Super creative album. Again, this is a band I'm having like a huge renaissance with these days. And these new ones just kept knocking down those old ones. And I'm realizing how deficient all that essentially those 3 records, the 3 major league LA records to me just kept sliding down farther down the list sort of thing, and they were getting knocked out from these by these. So that's my 4, my 3, my 2.
Cool. All right, so my number 4 is Beyond Good and Evil, 2001. So talking about gaps, this was 7 years after the Cult, the previous record. I mean, that's a hell of a span. This is their heaviest album of all. Billy is laying down some absolutely monstrous guitar, and he's just, again, he's just a fantastic guitar player. He a riff machine for sure. There's mellow moments on this as well, kind of mixed in with the heaviness. They got Bob Rock back for this record. It was funny because this was like the reinvigorated Cult, right? They had Matt Sorum on the drums. They had a solid drummer. They had, they were going to go out and conquer the world. And of course, Matt Sorum did not last very long with the Cult because they're, from what I understand, very difficult to work with. But yeah, that didn't last very long. Production, I really like the production on this. I think it's killer. And the Cult, again, even at their heaviest, this record still is super melodic and has a shit ton of hooks, so it definitely grabs you. Billy and Ian are just phenomenal songwriters in any genre, alternative stuff, this stuff, and stuff I'm going to talk about in a minute. So that's Beyond Good and Evil, my number 4. My number 3 is Ceremony, 1991. I love Ceremony. Ceremony was like, it was basically Sonic Temple without the frills, like just, not quite as dry and, and sparse as Electric, but not as, car sicky, if you will, of Sonic Temple.
No arena rock, in other words.
Yeah, exactly. And this was the lawsuit record, right? The photo of the kid. Was it $12 million they sued them for? Something ridiculous. Anyways, this is a straight ahead rock record with no frills. Heavy, amazing riffing by Billy Duffy, and he's soloing his ass off on this record, which I absolutely love. It has the power ballads, and like Jamie said, you know what, man, I don't mind their ballads. Heart Full of Soul, Sweet Salvation. There's some gospel type stuff in there as well that I dig. And to me, it's like they're just plugging in their amps and they're just powering through these songs. And I'm a huge Billy Duffy fan. So anyways, that's my number 3. So my number 2, speaking of car sick, is Sonic Temple, 1989. Man, this was their peak, right? This was their commercial peak. Bob Rock production. This was the record that got all these other bands to go to Bob Rock, Metallica and among others. It's a heavy record, but it is definitely a record of its time, right? In production wise, The power ballad Edie Chow Baby, which again is I think it's a great song. There is not a bad song on this record. It does sound dated because you can tell this was you just by listening to it, when it was recorded. So it suffers a little bit from that, but the songs are just so damn good. I don't know how many singles came off of this record. I mean, 4 or 5 singles came off of this record. And one of the deep cuts and one of my favorite songs on this record that, is Automatic Blues, which I love that riff. That riff is absolutely killer. So those are my 4, 3, and 2. So 4 Beyond Good and Evil, 3 Ceremony, and 2 Sonic Temple.
Cool. All right, my number 4. So we did a couple shows here on the channel last week about on the bandwagon, off the bandwagon, and the Cult is one of those bands I didn't even think to talk about them on the Hudson Valley Square show that I just stopped listening to. Like I was so into them with Sonic Temple, and I bought Ceremony. I liked it, and then I didn't buy anything else from them until I heard Choice of Weapon in 2012. For whatever reason, I just started listening to other things. They released albums. I wasn't listening. Nothing turned me off from them. I just moved on to other things for whatever reason. And I've had to kind of go backtrack onto the band. But I really like this album a lot. I think it's really strong. I think Ian sounds really good on this. There's a lot of really fun songs. There's not a lot of songs, which I can appreciate. It's not that long of an album. You got Honey from a Knife, Elemental Light. The Wolf is a throwback to like their late 80s stuff. For the Animals is great. I love the Lush Wilderness Now. Lucifer is nice and heavy, and I totally dig A Pale Horse. And I think I was amazed at how good this was when I got this back in 2012, and I still think pretty highly of it. So yeah, that's my number 4. My number 3, if we were going back 25 years or whatever, over 30 now, I probably would have ranked this higher, but today I'm going to go Sonic Temple, number 3 from 89. I agree. It sounds very much of its time, production wise, song wise, everything about it. I still love it. I think Firewoman is a great song. I love the Zeppelin-y American Horse. I love Automatic Blues. I absolutely agree with the great guitar work on that. Edie is great. Soul Sister is so memorable. New York City, it's a great album. Love the cover. And I just, when I listen to this, it kind of takes me back in time. And everybody I knew was listening to this album and this band at the time. So that's my number 3. And number 2, I almost ranked this number 1. Almost. Beyond Good and Evil, 2001. It's so freaking heavy. I love it. Yeah. Big ballsy production on this. I love Matt Sorum's drums on this. War the Process. What a headbanging song that is. Billy Duffy is all over this with just big meaty riffs and solos all over the place. The Saint, Rise, Take the Power, Breathe kind of sounds like Soundgarden a little bit. American Gothic has these big huge riffs. Ashes and Ghost is almost like a Doom song, right? Like I said, I could have put this at number 1. I had to kind of hold myself back a little bit. But I love the production. I love the heaviness of it. It's just kind of weird how this is like their one. They really never did another album quite like this. And maybe that's okay, right? But I totally dig it. So that's my number 2. Cool. Drum roll for number 1s. Jamie, what do you got?
I must love Sonic Temple so much because I don't hear how it sounds dated. I'm sure it does, but I just don't hear it because I think I'm ear blinded by my love.
It could be. I don't know. I listen to it and I'm like, yeah, late 80s, early 90s.
I even got the big old box set 30th anniversary.
Look at that.
And it came with a live album, live at the Wembley 1989. And it came with like a demo tape of stuff. But yeah, that I kept this, Martin, from our show. I'm going to reuse a bit. Can I reuse a bit? Because it's the best way to explain it. So my number 1 is sometimes my number 2. Sometimes my number 2 is my number 1. It's like, and some people are like, is he going to show the planets again? Yes. So here's the sun. Do you remember when Pluto was a planet? And you had Neptune? And everyone always said Pluto was the furthest, but you see how they intersected? Sometimes the other planet was the furthest and the other one was closest to the sun. Well, it's like that with the albums. If you take away the sun and you put me there and you put these albums there, every 235 years, the other album becomes my favorite album. So yeah, right now we're in that 235 year period, I guess, where I'm going. It was contrarian. And that's why I talked about it on the Contrarians. I'm going with the 1994 self-titled. I went into this thinking, I love them, but has-beens. And I got it. And right when first listen, I have certain landmark albums in my life where you can put the flagpole. Boink. That was an important one. Boink. Maybe 7 years down the road. Right when I heard this, I put the flagpole in it. First listen, I thought this is special. It was weird that first little guitar riff on song one, hearing it for the first time. Is this the cult? Wow, it's like Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. And this, Martin calls it a noisy record. I call it a stripped down record. Isn't that weird? I think it's both noisy and stripped down at the same time, and I don't know how they do it. You feel like you're in the studio with these guys when they're doing it. And it kind of sounds like two guys making the album with a couple guys helping out to me. But the songs on it, Gone, like I said, great song. Coming Down has one of my favorite grooves of all time, of all grooves. Real Girl, really great song. Black Sun is like this alternative rock epic, it goes up, it has downtime, then it kicks again. Naturally High is funky as hell. Star, man, you know what? Star might be my favorite Cult song. It's just got
a good one.
Oh God, it's just so good. It's got this swirling, funky instrument that I don't even know what it is. What is that noise? But if I die and go to heaven, and if I hear that, I know I made it to the right place, which is hell, of course. Sacred Life, great. Saints Are Down is such a wonderful song. So yeah, when I tell people about this song, it doesn't sound like the Cult, it's kind of stripped down, but I know a guy who calls it noisy. They're gonna go, can we just put on Sonic Temple? Yeah, I'm not gonna sell anyone. But like I said on our show, it's like trying to sell ice fishing. You can tell someone why you like ice fishing. Oh, you get up at 4 a.m., you go out into the cold and you sand on ice and you freeze your ass off and you wait for this fish to bite the hook. It's wonderful. Like, no, I'm trying to sell ice fishing here with this album. I know to a lot of people. A lot of you guys like it though. Yeah, very special album to me. Never get tired of it. And I love it to death.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yep.
Cool. All right, Martin, what do you got? Number one.
All right, my number one, I went with Choice of Weapon. So there's the that was just an advanced thing, but it's kind of cool how there's the hardback thing. It's kind of cool how I'm holding the wrong one up there. There we go. We've got the redo of the cover idea kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
From the Cult. And yeah, love the graphics of this. It's in a hardback thing. The band looks really cool. I just played this album a million times when it came out. It's a 2012 album. Honey from a Night with the Who's Got the Drugs thing, Elemental Light, just really kind of spooky and psychedelic. I think it's the perfect balance. Yeah, man, look at the guys there, right? I mean, who do they look like? They look like the friggin' Tea Party, right?
Yeah, they do.
It does. Yeah, just I really love the pacing of this album. The Wolf is really cool. That to me is like a new She Sells Sanctuary sort of thing. Life is Greater Than Death, dark, mellow one on here. This really is probably my favorite, like in my heart, rather than trying to intellectualize it and say, no, Deep Purple's the best, making their best music now, or Uriah Heep. I just love the fact that these guys are so creative, and Ian's such like a dangerous creative guy. And I just feel like they're operating on a different plane than our favorite classic rock bands in terms of this idea of great new music now. And you saw with you guys Beyond Good and Evil, super high, right? Hidden City's a good album too, but I just really play this one a lot. It's 10 songs. You get to the end of it, you've got Lucifer on here with that pulsating synth thing, and then cool modern heavy chords in it. A Pale Horse is amazing, stop start, Zeppelin doorsy kind of thing. This Night in the City Forever is, again, it's Ian the poet, the Jim Morrison kind of guy. So I just think this album's got the heaviness, it's got the production, it's got the creativity, it's got the variety. Oddly, as a comparison to the Cult, and I don't think I can really compare it to the Cult. The Cult just has an amazing level of coolness that you can't touch. But I think the utilitarianism of it comes through on this one and Hidden City, and even to a certain extent Beyond Good and Evil a little bit more. This just gives you enough of the big stadium rock stuff mixed with the creativity that you get the perfect balance of this band. So man, what a catalog, eh? There's just nothing really all that bad in it. It's and like Jamie says, that more than the back half of it is amazing.
Yep, good points. I totally agree. All right, Hack, what do you got for number one?
Well, my question to all of you is there no love for love?
Oh, you got love number one. Eh? Wow. Okay.
Number one, 1985. Come on. First year in university.
Yeah.
Sanctuary comes on. I lose my shit.
I remember that. Yeah.
It's over. That song, it's like, who the hell are these guys? Wow, I love the guitars. And the thing was, it sounded different than everything that was out at that time. Because that mean you're talking 85, it's hair metal. You're listening to Warrant and all these other bands that all sound the same. And then this guy shows up with a guitar that's not distorted. It's relatively clean, but he's got all these things going on, like heavy chorus and delays and everything else. So now you're hearing the guitar sounding different than everything else, and it just grabs your ear. And that tune is just, timeless. Oh shit, yeah. That hooked me. And then I went and I bought the album, and I got a whole album of that stuff. And it's funny because when you listen to this and then you listen to Dreamtime, man, it's like, a year or two apart, they really picked it up in a very short amount of time. And the thing is, even though the guitars are clean, it's still a heavy record. It's not, there's still some, as you put it, I'll say there's some balls to this record, And yeah, Martin, I listened to all the bands you were talking about earlier. I love Susie and the Banshees and the Mission, and I was right into that stuff, right? But these guys, they were just doing it better, than those bands were at the time. And these guys were getting radio play, because you weren't hearing Susie and the Banshees on Q107. You were hearing these guys on Q107. So, but yeah, it was just that they were different than the hair bands at the time. The album itself, it's just it's hooky as hell. Billy, again, with the big white Falcon Gretsch, he's just playing some really beautiful lines. The music is very, very simple. A lot of it's just 3 chords, but he's playing these simple lines over top of it. And then you've got Ian, which, man, that guy's got one of the best voices in rock. I always loved Ian's voice. Him singing over top of that, and it just absolutely works. And Jamie was talking about flagpoles being planted. This was a flagpole for me. It's like, okay, now I'm reinterested in music, because before this, it's like it started all sounding kind of the same to me. And these guys kind of opened up another door. And after listening to them, then I started seeking out bands that were doing this type of material, because this was a British thing. The goth thing was a British thing. You weren't getting that in North America. You had to go and search out those British bands, right? And yeah, man, absolutely love. It's still my favorite record, because it made such an impression on me then, and it got me into the band. And then what's cool too is that these guys from there, think about it, how many times did they morph? They went from this to electric, which is like a complete left turn. And then to me, and I always had this impression, to me, Sonic Temple sounds like taking the sonics from this with the heavy playing of electric and putting those two together. That's what Sonic Temple is for me. It's like the marriage of this record and electric, putting them together. But anyways, I mean, how many singles came off this? Rain, Nirvana, Brother Wolf and Sister Moon, Sanctuary, of course. So many good songs on here. There's not a dud on this record. So that's my number one.
Do you think, I don't think they created a genre, but I think they created a style. What do you think about that? Or did they create a subgenre of hard rock goth?
Well, yeah, I think I don't think a whole lot of bands followed them, so it didn't turn into a genre, but they were doing something unique.
Yeah.
Essentially, and that's what got them in the door, and then they changed, of course, as Hack says. But there weren't too many bands doing that. Oddly enough, I think some of U2 getting famous is because they got a little rocky at times. I think just the fact of New Year's Day and just some of those beats, there was some aggression in some of that early stuff that I think helped them get a little more recognition. And the other odd thing I've said at times, Love strikes me as an album that in a weird way is like the blueprint for grunge, because it's mixing the obscure, post-punk and artiness and punk, like an obscure British thing, but then putting a Guitar Hero over top of it. And that's kind of what you got out of Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam a little bit. You've got this mix of 70s. I guess with them, with grunge, it was a mix of classic rock with artiness. And here you got a mix of Guitar Hero with post-punk, which is kind of the same thing.
Well, they put a song called Nirvana right on the album. So yeah, it could be a blueprint.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, my number one. Hack was just talking about the first one that really grabbed him. And my number one is the first one that really grabbed me. And it's just ironic because in 1987, I was listening to a ton of thrash. I was listening to, you had Halloween coming out, that Whitesnake album in 87, which was my favorite album of the year, and various other things. But then all of a sudden, this album got introduced to me called Electric. That I remember the first time I heard this album, I'm like, wow, this is like the best AC/DC album that they hadn't done in years. Because it was so economical and just simple and hooky. And I was just surprised at how much I was taken with this album. Had really interesting production from Rick Rubin. Like you mentioned, the dryness of it. It is really dry, but it really works on this album. And it's just, every song is just simple, in the pocket. It rocks. It has hooks. Wildflower. I mean, I love Peace Dog, Little Devil, Love Removal Machine, classic song, Memphis Hip Shake, Aphrodisiac Jacket. I mean, the riffs are killer. The grooves are killer. Ian's vocals are absolutely fantastic. And I agree, get Born to Be Wild off of this. And this is probably a 5-star out of 5 album. But as it is, it's still a lot of fun. Like I said, this was almost my number 2 because I've been listening to a lot more Beyond Good and Evil of late. And but it's just hard to deny this because this is the one that really grabbed me. And everybody was listening to this as well. And then they come back with Sonic Temple, which is even different from this as well. So they just kind of kept morphing along the way. But yeah, cool album cover and everything. They just look cool. I mean, they were like the coolest looking band at the time, and they were definitely doing something different. Although on this album, you could argue that this, was them doing kind of the AC/DC thing, but still really cool, different for them. So yeah, that's my number 1.
Yeah, they bridged the gap between they made Cure fans and Metallica fans get along at parties. They had something to talk about because they both like the cult.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I want to say, Hack, I am so impressed getting your thoughts in order, your notes in order, your albums in order in like 2 hours. Man, that's impressive. You are a pro. You must have your own channel or something. I don't know, man.
Not only do I have my own channel, but I did a ranking show of this about a year or 2 years ago.
I just reused my old notes from our show too. Yeah. My dad asked me, "Are you prepared?" I did this in November.
I had an hour, so it gave me enough time to rewatch it and remind myself of. Yeah.
Yeah, so we didn't mention at the beginning. So for everybody watching, Chris Allen was originally supposed to be on this panel, but he is under the weather, and we've rescheduled this many times over the last couple of weeks and over the last year. So Chris sent me a note today, goes, I'm not feeling up to it, but you guys go ahead and do it. I'm just going to bow out because I know we've rescheduled this so many times. So I was like, all right, the three of us could do it. But I was just doing a show on Hack's channel, or I was set to do a show, and I'm like, oh, that's right, he's a big fan. Let me ask him if he can kind of fill in. I'm like, I know it's last minute, but can you do this show tonight? He goes, yeah, sure. So,
Sure, Pete.
You know what? Aloe, tell Al, is he watching right now? Aloe, you never make a comment down below. Put your damn top 10 down in the comments below. Let the people know, for crying out loud.
They're going to be
lazy.
Asking,
right?
He has his list because he told me, he goes, I got my list. I got all the CDs, but I can't make the show. I'm not feeling good. So Chris, if you are watching it, I'll send him a message. Make sure you post your picks down below in the comment section. So this way we see them. So, and everybody else. Everybody else watching, if you're a cult fan, you know these albums pretty well. Rank all 10 of them, rank your top 5, whatever you want to do in the comments below. And before we let everybody go, so Martin, what's going on? Contrarians, podcast, books, all that sort of thing?
Yeah, the latest podcast episode just went up. It's the first great productions. So I look at sort of 71 to 73 and figure out, here's where production really picked up. Here's 5 picks for great productions. Contrarians, stuff going up all the time. The Dark Horse Patreon panel stuff is going up all the time. And the books, martinpopoff.com, latest one being the Dio book, the Dream Evil Dio in the 80s.
Cool. Hack, what's going on over your channel?
Well, just before we did this, Martin, myself, and Pete did a show on The Who. So check that out on the Guitar Hack channel. Also, we did Dio last month, UFO. We've done quite a few.
Cheap Trick,
Heart, Rush, Kiss. Anyway, lots of good content there. And check out my original music. I've got I think 18 original songs. Are all up on Spotify, all the streaming services. Check out Guitar Hack. A lot of instrumental stuff. There's some vocal stuff. I apologize for that in advance. But anyways, give it a listen. There's some good stuff there, lots of rockin' tunes. And that's about it.
And Jamie, we are doing second episode of Curse of the Collector this weekend, right?
Yeah, but hold on, I got some things I might want to plug on my own.
Okay, there we go.
Hey, Amar and I and some people at the Contrarians just did a show on Strange Highways. Is that going to be out there on YouTube for everyone, Martin? Do you know, or is that like a Patreon only thing?
Oh no, it definitely will be, but there's a bit of a backlog on those Dark Horse things as they do.
Yeah, it takes a while for them.
There's 4 or 5 of them in a row coming soon. But yeah, that was really educational. That was good stuff.
That was fun. That was fun to do on Strange Highways. And come to my Let's Get Physical Facebook page. It's a fun place to be. It's all about this stuff: physical media, CDs, albums, comic books, Blu-rays, DVDs, magazines, novels. Take a picture of what you bought, post a picture on the page. We all make comments and make you feel good. You know, maybe you feel a little guilty. I should have spent $75 on that box set. Take a picture of it, put it on the page. We'll make you feel good about spending $75 on that box set. Right. And don't invite your wife to that page. It's our secret between all of us. Don't worry. What stays on Let's Get Physical, what gets posted on Let's Get Physical stays on Let's Get Physical.
There you go.
And yes, we have a show coming up on Sunday, The Curse of the Collector.
That's right. Where we get to show off all that stuff we've been buying, right? So that's coming up. Jamie, myself, and a panel of experts. Also tune in Friday morning. Martin and I are going to be talking about our 10 favorite one album and done bands. So those cool bands that we love that only ever did one album, we're going to tell you our top 10 favorites. So that's coming up Friday. Hack will also be here on the channel this weekend. So we've got album homework assignment on Sunday. Hack and Jim Bakke, both of our two panelists from the Guitarist Corner show will be going head to head with some cool album picks that they gave each other. So that's happening this Sunday. So as you can see, lots going on YouTube across all these various things and on Facebook. So don't miss any of it. Please subscribe here if you haven't already and click on that notification bell. We also have down below the link to our Ko-Fi page and the link to the Sea Tranquility merch page. We got all sorts of cool shirts and hats and hoodies and things like that. So thanks for watching, everybody. Please rank the cult albums as you like them down below. For Jamie, Laszlo, Martin Popoff, and Guitar Hack, I am Pete Pardo. See you all real soon. Coming up this weekend, we've got another ranking show, ranking the albums of Miles Davis, 1965 to 1975, our top 10 favorite albums between myself, Andy Edwards, and Chuck Alvarez. That's coming up this weekend as well. So for everybody here, I am Pete. See you all real soon. Take care.
Cheers.